Hey all, here at Homestead, back here again today. New project for the day, auto shop class. A good air drill, air compressor, super car jack, and a couple other things. Make it a whole lot easier to get things done. And for those who don't know, always watch or take pictures when you take something apart. That way when you know, you put it back together backwards. Thanks, Blake. So yeah, we're gonna do the brakes on the truck here, which is a nice easy job. I'm always one of those people that say if you can do it yourself, why pay somebody else? So when you, quick tip, whenever you change the brakes on a truck or any vehicle really, watch out and check your rotors, make sure they're there and they're clean and smooth, because there's two options. Obviously, I'll show you the clean one here in a second since we already got this one off. On the outside of the rotor, it's real clean, still smooth, all looks good. But the issues typically come on the inside. I don't know how well you can see that, but it looks almost like the Grand Canyon down there, where it has grooved itself out pretty bad. The issue of why it's unbalanced that way is, yeah, here we go. Here's what it should look like. Super smooth, super nice. I mean, yeah, it's brand new looking, but it should stay that way, because once it starts getting grooves and garbage and junk and chunks taken out of it, that's when your brake pads really get going. It can mess up your calipers. It can take a chunk out of the brake pad and lock up your brakes while you're driving down the road, and that would suck because that's a car accident. So yeah, so whenever you take anytime, if you're taking a wheel off a car to do anything, whether it's change the tire, change the brakes, work on something under there, first step, be safe. As always, if you got them, if not, find blocks, something. Make sure you put jack stands under your vehicle. You never want to be the statistic that, oh wow, Jimmy got crushed by his car and now he's a pancake. I don't want that to be me. I definitely don't want it to be Mr. Blake over here, so be safe at all times. But when you take first thing you do when you take the tire off, check your tire. It takes a couple seconds to just roll it around the yard or the driveway or whatever. Make sure there's no nails, nothing sticking out of it. Check your tread. Make sure, they say, you know, a little bit on a penny down in your main grooves is how to tell. So make sure you got the right tread depth. That way you're not having issues when it's raining or snowing or going too fast and having fun. From there, do your project, which for today it was changing the brakes. The reason it was unbalanced on the rotor there like that is sometimes if your caliper, the part that actually makes the brakes contract on your rotor to slow your cars down, if it gets too dirty, too grimy, too rusty, or the parts, you know, it's not lubricated well enough, it can start getting kind of stuck. So it'll squeeze and then it doesn't open like it should, because it's just a release of pressure, so it should slide back open. And if it's got all that crud and gunk built up on it, it stays shut. Doesn't hold there, it'll slowly come open over time as you're driving and the wheel turns and stuff like that, but it will wear down that interior brake pad, which you'll have someone say, hey, I think my brakes are going out, or there's some issue, I'm hearing squeaking or grinding or whatever, and you'll go and you walk up to your car and you'll take a look at the tire and you'll be like, well, I can see your brake pad from here. I can, like me this morning, I was like, you would have heard your tires squeaking and squealing for a couple of weeks before you would have started to notice any kind of weird metal on metal action. But I walk up to the truck, I look at it, and right there, I mean, I'll show you, they're still on there. These silver clips right here, they're not just to like fit in the brakes. That little clip will also assist in the squeaking mechanism. That way you know, oh, my brake pads are wearing down, so time to get my car in the shop, or you know, if you can and are capable and able and know what you're doing, change them yourself. So I look at the brakes this morning after I took it for a drive. I was like, how did you let it grind down so bad? And it's like, well, it's not her fault. They didn't function. Someone didn't put them in right. So there was no squeaking, and also it's not putting pressure on that side evenly like it should. So all you get is it destroying the inside of your brake pad, wearing that off, and then destroying your rotor. And you can't see that without taking the tire off, or if you really know what you're looking for and listening for. Thankfully, I grew up with a car dad, and he taught me a lot after I learned how to hold the flashlight right. So yeah, after a little bit of inspection, I was like, oh, I know what I need. Go to the parts store, get my stuff, and then I can get the car put up on a jack. Instead of put it up on the jack, oh, this is what I need, and then I got to take it down, put it back together if that's even possible, and then go to the parts store. So a lot of people, when they go to change their brakes, especially for the first time, they get everything apart and they've had their swearing fits and their crazy problems with all of it because they're learning as they go, or even that. But you get to the point where you got to put the new brake pads in, and everything's in place, and you got to put it back on the rotor and mount it, and it won't fit. And everyone's like, why? Well, like I said, the caliper squeezes. Well, it's going to be left in that forward position, so you have to put it back to start position. And the best way to do that, take one of the brake pads that you're taking off, put it in back in the caliper, take your C-clamp, put it over it, wind it out. It'll push it out evenly and balanced. That's why you want to use the old brake pad, because it'll get both pieces of the caliper, or the whole thing is one unit flush, and you'll be able to squeeze it back out. Save yourself a lot of headache and heartache and angriness. All right, so we got it back together. Looks just like it did before we started, which is always a good sign. Turns, got some motion, so you don't hear any sound. That's always good. Nothing's left in there. So now, that was the hard side. I always suggest doing the hardest part first. That way you get a lot of it done. Now we're gonna see what Blakeford learned during our tutorial session. He doesn't have to do the rotor, just the brake pad. So here we go. Blake, what did we do so far?
What?
What'd you do so far?
I took off the wheel.
Okay, and how'd you do that?
I unscrewed the lug nuts and then rolled it over there and tacked the treads.
See, he's learning already. So tell me what you're gonna do with this.
Take off these two nuts here, and then take this off and make sure this don't break.
Right, and what is that?
That's the brake line.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna take these out and put the new ones in and then screw it back on.
All right, we believe in you, sir. He's on to level 3. Okay, so he's alive. Dirty hands, but we're alive. It's on there. He did a good job. Everything's back together properly, but we do need to take a moment for his little knee resting thing, the old sled. As you can see, it's no longer a Captain America shield, yet it's more like broken ice. What do you have to say for yourself?
It got in my way.
Uh-huh.
It messed with the wrong person, and I paid the price.
Well, we're alive. The car's moving. No more squeaky brakes, no more grinding of the rotors and the brake pads. So that's nice. We learned. Sorry about the bumps. My parents live on a long, old gravel lane with lots of potholes. It's great. But doing all this with Mr. Blakeford over here really made me stop and think for a minute how it's good, aside from doing things for yourself, that the passing of knowledge is the way life has always been done over the years, and we kind of got away from that. Like, there's too many people working and not enough people spending time together, like as families or just friends or anything. But it used to be father or mother would pass it to son or daughter, or vice versa, or whatever. That way they knew. And then they would pass it along and pass it along. And somewhere along the line that got lost, or it got passed on to the school system, which got halved and cut out and dropped because they didn't have money, or program got removed or whatever. But I think that's one of the good things about everyone having a lot of time on their hands right now with not going to work or school, that we can get back to that. So aside from having the ability to change the brakes on the car and make it better and roadworthy again without having to pay somebody, I mean, we spent, say, $80 on the rotor and the brake pads. And what did we do today? We took a couple hours out in the sun, got to enjoy the weather, and I mean, he already kind of knew what he was doing, but we're passing the knowledge. My dad taught me, now I'm teaching him, and then someday he's going to have to deal with teaching somebody else. Hopefully he gets lucky and has smart kids too. Because I promise you, when you have the spastic kid, that was me, it's not as easy as it was me showing him how to do stuff. But we keep doing it, we keep doing the knowledge, and we take care of ourselves and our stuff, and we help everybody out, whether it's our own family or our friends or just people around. But we do the work. Why?
Because that's what heroes do.
Because that's what heroes do.